338,000 soldiers. That's how many men the British managed to pull off a beach in France in 1940. Fishing boats, pleasure yachts, a paddle steamer called the Medway Queen. A paddle steamer. Britain literally sent a tourist boat to fight Hitler, and it worked 9 times. The Medway Queen made 9 trips across the English Channel during active combat and survived every single one. The captain got a medal. He deserved 12. But what if it hadn't worked? What if the Germans had just not stopped? Here's the thing nobody tells you. They almost didn't have to do anything. Hitler's tanks were sitting right outside Dunkirk. Engines running, guns loaded, 3 miles from the coast. And then Hitler personally told them to stop. He called it off. Rundstedt suggested it. Hitler agreed. And for 3 days, the entire German armored division sat in their tanks doing nothing, while 338,000 men escaped by boat. The British called it a miracle. The Germans called it a mistake, but only later. Quietly. In the kind of voice you use when you've just set your own house on fire. So let's rewind. Let's say Guderian doesn't get the halt order. Let's say the tanks keep rolling on May 24th, 1940. Everything changes. Northern France. General Heinz Guderian is sitting in his command vehicle outside Dunkirk. He has just received a message from High Command. Halt. Hold current positions. Do not advance. Guderian reads it twice, then a third time. He calls his aide over. Does this say what I think it says? Yes, General. We are 3 miles from the coast. Yes, General. I could throw a potato that far. I wouldn't recommend it, General. Guderian folds the message very carefully, stares out at the flat, gray, completely unimpressive Flemish countryside, then says very quietly, "These people are going to get us all killed someday." In real history, he obeys. He stops. The British escape. The war goes on for 5 more years and ends with Berlin in rubble. But today, his radio operator, Corporal Franz Mettler, is having a bad morning. He has not slept. He is cold. He has been eating the same tinned meat for 11 days, and he is trying to balance a cup of lukewarm coffee on a vehicle that is, technically, a tank support unit traveling across Belgium. The coffee goes on the radio. The halt order never fully transmits. Guderian receives half a sentence, something about hold and current. He assumes it means hold your current speed. He advances. It was, historians would later agree, the most consequential lukewarm coffee in recorded human history. Not even good coffee. Mettler himself described it as tasting like hot pencil water. This is what changed the world. The German tanks roll toward Dunkirk on May 24th. On the beaches, the evacuation is barely starting. Most of the men are standing in lines that stretch into the sea, up to their chests in freezing water, in an orderly British queue, because apparently the one thing you don't abandon in a military catastrophe is manners. Vice Admiral Bertram Ramsay is in Dover, managing the operation from a room literally carved into the White Cliffs, which sounds dramatic until you realize it was a damp tunnel that smelled like chalk and existential dread. He gets the call around noon. The panzers are moving again. Moving where? Toward the men, sir. Ramsay pauses. How many men have we evacuated so far? About 8,000, sir. 8,000. Out of 400,000. At this rate, they would finish sometime in 1943. Get every boat you have, Ramsay says. Right now. Sir, we have the Medway Queen, but she's already... I don't care if you put the men on a lilo and tell them to kick. Get something in the water. The boats go. But they're too late. The German armor hits the perimeter by afternoon. By May 26th, the Dunkirk pocket is gone. Churchill is in London getting hourly updates. Each one is worse than the last. At one point, his aide walks in and just stands there, silently, for about 15 seconds. What? Churchill says. I don't know how to say this, Prime Minister. Quickly. Say it quickly. We've lost the army. Churchill does not respond. He is chewing his cigar, staring at the middle distance. His staff are frozen like a very stressed painting. Then he says, which army? The only one we have, sir. A very long pause. Right. Churchill says. Well, that's it. Well. And then he lights a cigar and stares at the wall for 45 minutes while 3 separate aides consider new careers. Roughly 290,000 British and Allied troops are taken prisoner. Another 50,000 are killed. About 40,000 make it home on whatever boats got there in time. The Medway Queen saves another boatload and somehow survives again, because the Medway Queen is apparently indestructible and nobody can explain it. The British Expeditionary Force, the entire professional corps of the British Army, is gone. Britain is now defended by the Royal Navy, the RAF, the Home Guard, and approximately 14 working tanks. Churchill has a problem. Actually, Churchill has about 11 problems arranged in order of how quickly they will kill him. But the main one is, without an army, Britain cannot credibly threaten to fight anyone on land. In real history, Churchill's war cabinet was split. Lord Halifax wanted to negotiate with Hitler through Mussolini, which is a bit like asking your neighbor's dog to mediate a property dispute. Churchill refused. He gave the speech about fighting on the beaches. The cabinet backed him, partly because the army had literally just come home from the beaches, which made the whole thing feel achievable. Without the army, that argument collapses. Halifax calls a cabinet meeting on June 2nd. He arrives looking like a man who has already won an argument he hasn't made yet. "We have no army," Halifax says. "We have the Navy," Churchill says. "Hitler doesn't want the Navy. He wants us to stop shooting at him. The RAF cannot occupy France, Winston, cannot hold India, cannot protect Egypt. What exactly do you propose the RAF does? Strongly worded flyovers?" Churchill has no answer. The peace faction wins. By 2 votes, Britain opens negotiations. Now here is the funny part. Hitler has no idea what to ask for. His entire strategic plan assumed Britain would keep fighting. So when Britain signals through Sweden that they are open to terms, Hitler calls a meeting. "What do we want from Britain?" he asks. Ribbentrop, his foreign minister, a man so aggressively unpleasant that even other Nazis found him exhausting, says, "Continental recognition and withdrawal from the war. Yes, but specifically, silence. Do we want their colonies? We have no ships to hold colonies, Führer. Do we want money? They don't have much money. Do we want their king? What would we do with their king? I don't know, Ribbentrop, that's why I'm asking." More silence. "Do we want them to help us against Russia?" A pause. That's actually not terrible. And so in June 1940, Germany and Britain signed the Munich armistice. Britain keeps its empire, its parliament, its king, and its dignity, technically. In exchange, Britain agrees to stay neutral and quietly share naval intelligence about Soviet Arctic shipping routes with Germany. The British public is not told about the naval intelligence part. The British public is told it is a strategic pause for diplomatic recalibration, which means nothing and is designed to mean nothing. Churchill resigns. He goes home to Chartwell, drinks an amount of brandy that would concern most doctors, and writes a memoir describing the armistice as a civilizational catastrophe dressed in the costume of pragmatism. His publisher asks if he could soften that. He publishes it in a larger font. Halifax becomes prime minister. He sends Hitler a polite letter. Hitler does not write back for 6 weeks. When he does, it is 3 sentences. Halifax frames it. It is the saddest thing in the building. Germany turns east. Operation Barbarossa launches June 1941. Exactly as in real history, except this time there is no British bombing campaign, no North Africa front, no threat to Italy. Germany points everything it has at the Soviet Union like a man who has just been told he has one afternoon to finish all his errands. Stalin gets no British intelligence and no American lend-lease. America is watching from a very comfortable distance and would like to stay there. Moscow nearly falls in December 1941. The Germans have more men, more tanks, more fuel, and no distractions. The front stabilizes east of Smolensk in a frozen grinding catastrophe that historians will call the Long War, and survivors will call something unprintable. Japan attacks Pearl Harbor anyway. December 1941. Because Japan was never really about Europe, America enters the war against Japan. Only Japan, because Germany has not attacked America. Hitler, who in real history declared war on America 4 days after Pearl Harbor, in a decision so baffling his own generals actually checked if he was joking, now has no reason to do so. His generals are so relieved they do not say anything in case he changes his mind. The war splits in 2. America and Japan fight across the Pacific. Germany and the Soviet Union destroy each other across Russia. Britain sits at home, neutral, shrinking, and profoundly uncomfortable about everything. The atomic bomb still gets built. American scientists, many of them European Jews who fled Nazi Germany and have extremely personal reasons to want this to work, are very motivated. The bomb drops on Japan in August 1945. The Pacific War ends. America looks at Europe. There is a Germany controlling France, the Low Countries, Scandinavia, and a large piece of Western Russia. There is a Soviet Union controlling everything east of the wreckage. There is Britain in the middle, holding a cup of tea, not making eye contact with anyone. America decides this is not its problem. The isolationists win 1948. The EU never forms, NATO never forms. At some point in the 1960s, a German economist coins the term Festung Europa, Fortress Europe. It is on a poster within the week. It's 2026. Germany doesn't call itself an empire, that would be tacky. Instead, it's the European Cooperative Framework, a name so aggressively boring it was clearly designed by someone who had something very large to hide. It works like this. Germany sets the rules. Everyone else follows them. Nobody says this out loud. It is, functionally, a homeowners association where the HOA president invaded Poland and everyone is still somehow paying the fees. France has a parliament. It votes on things. The things it votes on are pre-approved in Berlin. The French find this existentially humiliating, but the cheese situation remains world-class, and they have made a quiet, private peace with this arrangement that they will deny under any questioning. Britain is technically independent. They call their arrangement with Germany sovereign partnership. The Germans call it the British situation and change the subject. The Soviet rump state controls everything east of the Urals. It has nuclear weapons, spectacular levels of bureaucratic dysfunction, and an economy built entirely on being furious about the 1940s and selling the same 4 natural resources to whoever will buy them. So basically, identical to our timeline. Different flag, same energy, America is thriving. Enormous military, great suburbs, approximately zero interest in European geopolitics. An American president in 2019 was shown a map of the European cooperative framework and said, huh, and went back to his lunch. We could get involved, an advisor suggested in 1987. The senator looked out the window for a long time. In what sense, he said, is that our problem? Motion not introduced. Back to May 24th, 1940. Corporal Franz Mettler. He did not know what he had done. He wiped the coffee off the radio with his sleeve, noted in the logbook that communications had been intermittent, and ate a tin of something that was labeled meat. After the war, a very different war, a journalist found him in Bavaria in 1952. Small house, garden, a dog of no particular breed. Corporal Mettler, the journalist said. Some historians believe your coffee spill may have changed the outcome of the Second World War. Mettler considered this. I disobeyed an order, he said. Does that matter? It matters to high command. Maybe leave that part out of your newspaper. Disobeying an order led to the destruction of a 1,000-year-old empire. But what if it wasn't destroyed?